About 8 months ago, I did a tier list going over all the main series Pokemon games, and since then, I had some new opinions on some of these games. And of course, when I did that video, Legends Arceus was not even on store shelves yet, so I have yet to do a video going over my full thoughts on Legends Arceus that isn't a part of the One Shitty Family podcast. So I feel like, what better time to do it than update my tier list of main series Pokemon games right as Scarlet and Violet is about to come out in a few months. I probably should have waited until those games came out. But what can I say, I'm an idiot. So don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And let's dive to the list because we got a lot of games to talk about. Alright, here we go. We got our tier list. We got S to D, S being top tier, D being bottom of the barrel, and B tier being middle of the road. It's average. So starting things off with Generation 1, Red, Blue, and Yellow, and technically Pokemon Green as well. I kind of forgot to add Green to the list. I'm not going to go back and change that. I'm lazy. I actually don't remember what I did in my original tier list because, like I said, it's been almost a year since I did that list, and I haven't looked back at it pretty much ever since I did that video. So it's been a little bit, and you know, I think I recall saying that these games are alright, but nothing to shout at. I feel like they did lay the groundwork for the Pokemon series, though, so I feel like they should get a B tier. Not yellow. I kind of want to put them in C, though, because while they're definitely important, and when talking games on the original Game Boy, they are among some of the best games on the platform. But compared to newer Pokemon games, they are pretty outdated and broken in every way, shape, and form. And so, I feel like B is being very generous. But I think I'm still going to leave them there because they are the originals. Nothing's perfect the first go around, and that's certainly the case with Gen 1. I just feel like they're a bit overrated. Granted, I didn't grow up with them, so that's probably why. I don't feel as positive about these games as some other people do. But there's another category of games that I feel a little bit more positive about that we will get to shortly. But first, we gotta get through Generation 2, which are Gold, Silver, and Crystal. And these are definitely much more refined. I actually played through Gold a few months ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it's not the best Pokemon game of all time. It's certainly Crystal. I think I'll put them in A tier. I think I remember putting them in B tier last time, if I recall correctly. And that's because, you know, whenever I play through a Pokemon game, I feel more positive about it than how I felt before I played it, especially if it's one I replayed. Because it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to actually play it. And I feel like, you know, I give Gen 2 a lot of flack, especially with the pacing and the level curve being amongst the worst in the series, and just how long of a grind it is to not be underleveled. And those opinions still hold up, but I feel like, you know, I don't know, there's something about Gold, Silver, Crystal that I've come to appreciate a little more. Like, that was like my third or fourth time playing through Gen 2, or is it fifth? I can't remember. But I definitely played through Gen 2 enough times to really get a good feel for them and truly see these games at their fullest potential. And I still appreciate them for what they did. They were quite ambitious games for the time, and you gotta respect them for that. Alright, next up, Generation 3, Ruby and Sapphire. Ruby was the first Pokemon game I ever got to play. It wasn't the first Pokemon game I bought, but as that honor would go to Fire Red and Leaf Green, but Ruby was definitely, I have a lot of nostalgia for Ruby and Sapphire. I think we could put an A tier as well. Yeah, I think A tier is pretty fair for Ruby and Sapphire. They were great games. I love the Hoenn region. The music is great. I love the graphics. Just, a lot of these games are so good, but they're not perfect. The plot is fine. I mean, same goes for Gen 2. But really, the Hoenn wouldn't really be perfected until Emerald, which we will get to in a moment. But first, we gotta get through Fire Red and Leaf Green, as I actually just replayed Fire Red a few weeks ago, and honestly, I liked it a lot more than I thought I did. So I think I'll put Fire Red in A tier. They are a definite improvement over Generation 1, They're much more polished. Just everything about Fire Red Leaf Green is better than Gen 1 in my opinion. It's just a more complete feeling experience. Trying to remember what else off the top of my head. I don't think there's much else I can say. Fire Red in particular was actually the first Pokemon game I ever got to buy. It was the first Pokemon game I ever bought. There we go. I can talk tonight, I swear. But so I have a lot of nostalgia for just Gen 3 as a whole. I very much like these games. Next up is Emerald, and I think that's gonna be our first S tier. Like I said, Ruby and Sapphire's setting and story wouldn't be perfected until Pokemon Emerald. And I still think that's the best version of the Hoenn story, even over Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And Emerald has also brought a lot of content, such as the Battle Frontier being the biggest one. Brought back animated sprites, which Crystal had, but Generation 3, the rest of Gen 3 didn't go with. And it was also a much more challenging story overall, as Emerald had a lot more double battles, which was new for the time in Generation 3. And just in general, it was fantastic. I absolutely love Emerald. Okay, done with the Game Boy era. So now let's move on to the DS, starting with Diamond and Pearl. Now, as much as I love Diamond and Pearl, and how much these games mean to me, as Diamond was the first Pokemon game I ever got to complete as a kid, they are definitely not perfect. They have a lot of flaws with them, so I think, you know, even with my rose-tinted glasses, I think I'm still gonna put Diamond and Pearl in B tier. Now, I still had a lot of fun playing these games back in the day. Like, this was like the first generation that I got to experience at the same time that everyone else did, because I bought all the Game Boy games used right as Diamond and Pearl was about to come out, so I didn't get to experience like the hotness that is new Pokemon right as they were coming out, so that honor wouldn't come until Diamond and Pearl, so they mean a lot to me in that regard, and I just fell in love with this generation as a whole. I love the Sinnoh region, I love the new Pokemon, I love the characters, and the music is really unique. But Diamond and Pearl in particular have a lot of problems. The Pokemon distribution, particularly having only one Fire-type line in the entire dex outside of the Fire starter, is a huge problem. They were also heavily criticized for being very slow. And that was a complaint that I remember hearing about even back in the day. So yeah, it was kind of a problem back then, which luckily Platinum fixed, along with bringing along a lot of extra content. And Platinum gets an S tier. Up until this year, it was my favorite Pokemon game and my favorite game of all time. But a slightly newer game came out. You kind of know which one it is already. And I still love this game to death. Like, much like Emerald, Platinum really perfected the Sinnoh experience. It sped up battles, improved the plot, had even more characters, improved some regional decks. Pretty much everything about Platinum is better than Diamond and Pearl. Like, you basically have no reason to play Diamond and Pearl over Platinum. Like, you had to be absolutely out of your freaking mind to play Diamond and Pearl over Platinum. I'm not one of those people, luckily. Next up, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Ooh, this is gonna cause some spice, but I don't think Heart Gold and Soul Silver are S tier. I'm gonna put them in A tier. They're still really good games. Where the hell did Heart Gold? There we go. I still love these games to death. They are a solid improvement over Gold, Silver, and Crystal, and I would take these games over Gen 2 any day of the week. However, the biggest problem I have is the level curve, which did not improve at all, which I am salty about, especially since Diamond and Pearl and Platinum had the Versus Seeker, but that was not carried over into Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which I'm kind of baffled about. Granted, you have the Pokegear in the Johto games, but rematching trainers with the Versus Seeker is so much better than Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I actually forgot to mention the Versus Seeker debuted in Fire Red Queen, and that actually made the grind that much more bearable because you're battling against trainers as opposed to wild Pokemon, and you're also making a crap ton of money as a result. And also, the Sebi Isles, you know, they get a lot of flack for being forgettable, but I kind of like it. But anyway, back to Heart Gold, Soul Silver, because that's our most current game to talk about. I still really like these games. Everything about these are significantly better than Gold, Silver, and Crystal. But it's so grindy, and to be honest, that really hurt the pacing and really kind of affected my overall experience with these games, which is a massive shame because Heart Gold was the first Pokemon game I ever bought on launch day. So that has a whole special place in my heart as a result. But I still replayed Soul Silver in 2020, I believe, and while I still liked it, yeah, I don't think I need to repeat myself any further because then I'll just sound like a broken record. Alright, next up, Generation 5. First up is Black and White. I think this is another A tier. Or are any of these S tier? I'll put this in S tier. Story-wise, I think this has probably the best story in the main series, even though I love Sun and Moon's story as well. Game Freak just nailed it out of the park with Gen 5 as a whole. Massive region, great emphasis on story, lots of new Pokemon. In fact, the biggest roster of new Pokemon we've gotten since Gen 1. In fact, Black and White's roster of new Pokemon is the largest that we've gotten for any generation. And I don't think we're ever going to be able to top that, honestly, because Black and White was kind of seen as a soft reboot. So I'm kind of explain why there were, what was it, like 156 new Pokemon in Black and White? Absolutely insane. And the sequel, Black 2 and White 2, also an S tier, just improved the experience that much more. And you could argue that Black 2 and White 2 are the best 2D Pokemon games. And you know what? I would not blame you for feeling that way. Because Generation 5 as a whole is excellent. I love Gen 5. Alright, next up is Generation 6. Our first step onto the 3DS. I have a lot of nostalgia for X and Y, but I don't think... It pains me to put them in B tier. Like, I honestly feel like they are underrated games, but I do understand why people are not as positive with them. Particularly the plot, like, the plot is probably the weakest of the main series games, if I'm being honest with you. Like, it just had one too many rivals, and Team Flare is a very flawed antagonist, even though Lysander himself is very interesting. And also has a very small roster of completely new Pokemon, but I just love these games to death. They were so much fun to play. Like, it's got great music. I love the graphics. Like, the graphics in X and Y are actually really nice. It introduced character customization for the first time. It was the big jump into 3D for the main series for the first time, so it kind of makes sense why there wasn't as many brand new Pokemon, but all the little things like Pokemon and Me, Super Training, and the PSS just made the experience just that much better. And introduced the Fairy type, Mega Evolution. There are so many features that X and Y had that still hold up really well to this day. But the main game itself is alright. The post game is okay. The Walker Tales, to be honest, I don't remember much. But I still love these games to death. I did so much online battles in X and Y when they were new, and I just couldn't, because of just how easy it was to connect with other people. Like, the PSS really is the best form of communication in main series Pokemon, in my opinion, and unfortunately, Game Freak has just not replicated that success, unfortunately, in terms of the PSS. Alright. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I think these are another A tier. They are flawed, particularly the HMs and whatnot. Like, I still think these are great remakes. One could argue these are probably the best remakes. Well, I've seen the same argument tossed for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But I replayed Alpha Sapphire, I think after was it before or after I replayed Soul Silver? I can't remember. It was around that time frame, and I kind of like Auras more than Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Part of it is because of my love for Helen, but also, it's just a better game. It's much more polished. Of course, it's got the new experience share, which made the game insanely easy, which I think is the biggest criticism that's being tossed toward Gen 6. It's just how ridiculously overwhelmed your Pokemon can get with the experience share. But to me, that was a benefit, because that way I don't have to spend a lot of time grinding, which was my biggest complaint with Pokemon games of the past. But making the experience share a key item was a massive quality of life improvement that has stuck with us ever since. Of course, now it's baked in, and a lot of people don't like that, and I feel the hate toward that is overblown. But, you know, having the option to turn the experience share off is nice. I do admittedly appreciate that bit, but personally, I don't really care. Like, I prefer having a party-wide experience share anyway, as opposed to having each individual Pokemon gain experience and no one else. But, Oris, great games, and very, very good post-game as well with the Delta episode. Zinnia was a fantastic character. I love her. Alright, Sun and Moon, S tier. Easy S tier. And goes for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I replayed Sun near the end of 2021. And if it weren't for Gen 4, this would be my favorite generation. Like, I just adore Sun and Moon's story. I think I like Sun and Moon's story than Gen 5, even though it does take a while to get going, especially on the first island, but once you get past Melee Island, Sun and Moon really picks up from there, and it is outstanding. Like, such a... It gives home vibes to me. I love the soundtrack. It has my favorite Pokemon of all time. It brought over regional variants. I love the idea of Z moves. And it's just... And these games were just freaking fantastic. Like, honestly, this is among some of the best Pokemon games of all time. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is not to be slept on either. The plot is a little bit worse than Sun and Moon, but has a lot more Pokemon in the regional decks, and also has a lot more content, with, in my opinion, the better post-game than Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon's Ultra Beast hunt in the post-game was a little weak, but Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, nice. But of course, these are also, I feel like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is probably the hardest Pokemon game, at least in terms of main series. Of course, the argument that Pokemon Colosseum is harder, but that's more of a spinoff and not a main series game. Plus, I have not played through Colosseum. But regardless, I feel like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon definitely packs a nice punch. So if you're looking for a Pokemon game with a challenge, at least without resorting to ROM hacks and whatnot, these are the games to get. Very much enjoyed these. Ultra Sun is actually my most played Pokemon game of all time. I have over 300 hours logged in that game. Prior to Ultra Sun, I barely topped 100 hours in like Diamond, Heart Gold, Black version, and Platinum, I believe. Like, there were definitely games where and also X and Y as well. Like, there were definitely games where I did put a couple hundred hours in, but over 300 in Ultra Sun, loved it. Man, it's so freaking good. I love Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and Sun and Moon to death. Let's go Pikachu and let's go Eevee. Our first step onto the Switch, but was not a Gen 8 game. This was a weird little experiment from Game Freak. Where do I want to put these? I'm thinking either C or B tier. I don't know, honestly. I think... Because I feel like putting Let's Go in the same tier as Gen 1 feels a little weird. I'm gonna lower Gen 1 to C tier. Like, C tier is the lowest I'm willing to give Gen 1. And in this place, I'll put Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. This was a weird game. It's definitely not meant for the hardcore player like me, and probably those that are watching this video. But these games were clearly made to capitalize on the success of Pokemon Go. Like, there is no hiding that. But I still got a pretty decent amount of time out of it. It's really cute. It's got a really nice aesthetic. It's got a really nice music as well. The catch mechanic, I don't know, you love it or hate it. I personally am kind of in the middle. I don't mind it, but I would rather not use it. Especially in TV mode, like, swinging the Joy-Con for throwing a Pokeball in TV mode is a nightmare. Like, the motion controls are not great in that game. In handheld mode, they're fun because it uses gyro control, but otherwise, they're okay. I do like the fact that all the wild Pokemon show up in the overworld. That is a very nice touch. And it's also probably the easiest game to shiny hunt in because the catch combo method is so good. I think I still prefer Gen 7 for shiny hunting because of SOS chaining. But Let's Go, it's fine. Although it has gotten some extra use for me since you can transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Go directly to these games as opposed to relying on Pokemon Home for the Switch games, and that's a mess in its own. But no, let's go. They're fine, but nothing I would want to jump at the chance to play again unless I really want to. Plus, I just replayed Fire Emblem Free not too long ago, so that gives me even more reason to not play Let's Go for a good while, outside of bringing some Pokemon from Pokemon Go. Alright, Sword and Shield. Quite a polarizing game, but I'm gonna put them in S tier. I mean, not S tier, A tier. Even with the DLC, I feel like they're still A tier, because the base game's alright. I still think the base Sword and Shield would be an A tier. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Sword and Shield, and the DLC just made it that much better to me. But they're definitely not perfect. The story is fine. I feel like it definitely could have been executed a little better. The post game is garbage. I really don't like the post game in Sword and Shield. But a lot of the new Pokemon are so good. The Galarian forms were really good, and some of them even got new evolutions, like Galarian Linoon and Zigzagoon. Wow. From Galarian Linoon to Obstagoon. There we go. I can use my words correctly. But I thoroughly enjoy my time in both versions. I'm more of a Shield person because Galarian Ponyta is my baby. And the DLC was amazing too. I really enjoyed the Olive Armor with the Crown Tundra. The Crown Tundra was definitely the best part of Sword and Shield in my opinion. Both packs of the DLC also brought over 200 Pokemon back to the game. Of course, a big point of contention with Sword and Shield is the fact that they're the first mainstream Pokemon game to not include every Pokemon, even if they were not in the regional dex. So, like, if a Pokemon did not have a dex entry in Sword and Shield, you cannot bring it in from Pokemon Home, and that was quite controversial when the games were coming out. And you know, I feel like it was kind of becoming an inevitability, because the series was getting so big and we were getting so many Pokemon. We are so close to 1,000 Pokemon, and it's just going to become even harder and harder to program every single one of those Pokemon into the game. And I've always had the mindset of, would you rather have a mid-tier Pokemon game with every Pokemon in it, or would you rather have a high-quality Pokemon game but not have every Pokemon in it? And I feel like Game Freak wanted to go with the latter. And the graphics could also be a little bit better, because I remember some people saying that these games were kind of like upscaled 3DS games, and I can kind of understand, but I still love Sword and Shield. They're definitely not perfect, but I still enjoyed my time with them. I got over 200 hours in both versions. Yes, both versions. And I still go back to them every now and then, especially for the Shiny Rain events. And hopefully Scarlet and Violet will keep that up with the Terra Raid battles, because that was like the best excuse for me to keep going back to Sword and Shield, was because of the Shiny Rain events, and I hope Scarlet and Violet keeps that going. Alright, we're near the end here, starting with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I feel like these are the most polarizing Pokemon games in series history, even more polarizing than Sword and Shield. Like, a lot of people hate these games because they're faithful remakes, and you know, they're largely carried over from Diamond and Pearl, but like, I still feel like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have enough improvements from the original Diamond and Pearl to be a good experience, so I'm gonna put them in A tier. They're not S tier, they're not as good as Platinum. I remember when Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were revealed and coming out, I was like, okay, these games are gonna be better than Diamond and Pearl, but not quite as good as Platinum, and that's exactly what we got with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. I think the improvements that Ilka did make are actually really good. The Pokemon distribution is still kind of trash, although it's a little bit better with Grand Underground having some more Pokemon, even outside of the regional decks. But like, if it just used the Platinum decks, or even if it just was a split based on remake of Platinum, kind of like how Heart Gold Soul Silver was, technically speaking, actually a split remake of Crystal, then I think that would make Diamond and Pearl remakes, just that much better. But as it stands, as they are right now, I think these are alright. I feel like these games get way too much hate. Like, I still very much enjoy these. I don't have as much time put into these games as the other Pokemon games on Switch, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy these games. I still really enjoy them a lot. I love the aesthetic, the music is amazing, The following Pokemon is absolute garbage, though. Same goes for Sword and Shield. Really, Let's Go kind of peaked with following Pokemon, as you can ride some of them, and they can actually keep up with you. But, like, all in all, I don't think Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl are that bad. Like, the hate is way overblown, and I feel like people really should give these games a fair chance. Like, it's fine if you don't like them, but to say you don't like them and move on, it's not the end of the world. There are other significantly better Pokemon games you could be playing, which includes Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think this is the best Pokemon game ever made. It's my new favorite game of all time. This was such an ambitious title for Game Freak to make, but I'm so glad they took that big step because it paid off very well. It's got a great aesthetic. I love the gameplay. The idea of a main series Pokemon game being an action RPG, I think is perfect for this game's setting. But it still feels like a main series Pokemon game, but it's got a little bit, just a little bit enough of a twist to it that is addictive, and it works. It fits perfectly, and I love it. The Hisuian forms are outstanding, and I just can't get enough of this game. I actually just did the Arceus rematch in Legends a few days ago, and it was brutal, but I still did it. And I don't know if I'm going to do it again because it is very hard, but you know what? I did it, and I am proud of myself for it. What else is there to say about Legends Arceus that I have not said yet? I don't know. I don't think there's anything else for me to add. Where will Scarlet and Violet end up on this list? I have no idea. We're gonna have to wait until November to find that out, but that is my entire tier list. I would go back and compare my old list, but I am lazy, so I'm just going to leave it there. And that is gonna do it for me in this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later. Oh, and before I go, there will not be a new episode of the One Shitty Family Podcast on Sunday or the next week, as I'm going to be on vacation starting on Sunday, and I won't be back until next Saturday. So, if you don't see any content from me by then, that will probably explain why. I am most likely will do some kind of vlog for the trip, though, as I feel like it would be really cool to document the trip and get a very different kind of video on the channel than what I'm typically used to. But I feel like it would be very fun. I'm looking forward to the trip. But if you're ever wondering why there wasn't a new episode of the podcast this weekend, or next weekend, there you go. But regardless, that will do it for me in this video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I'll see y'all later. This is this week's Night Hunter, signing off.